Turning to campaign 2016, GOP frontrunner Donald Trump is being criticized for failing to correct a supporter who said President Obama is a Muslim.
Problem in this country, it's called Muslims. We know our current president is one. Right. You know he's not even an American.
We need this
birth
question.
certificate,
This is
man.
Bad things are happening out there. We need camps growing where they want to kill
The
us.
Trump supporter also claimed there were terror training camps on American soil. Trump said he'd look into it. The comments were made at a campaign rally in New Hampshire. This weekend, John Dickerson will sit down with presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton for her first Sunday show interview in almost 4 years. Here to talk about that and a few other things is John Dickerson. He is live in Washington for us. John, good afternoon. Good to see you.
Hey there, Chris.
I want to ask you first about this latest incident that we just broadcast here a few seconds ago involving Donald Trump. Now, he's been criticized for things that he has said, but now, though, getting bombarded for not speaking up. What were your thoughts when you heard this?
Well, you know, it's funny. There was a candidate, James G. Blaine, in New York, who got in trouble for this more than 100 years ago. This is not new in politics. The problem for Trump, or the challenge, is that there is the charge that he has fomented this. He's challenged the president's birth certificate. He has kind of whipped this up. And so he bears perhaps more responsibility for this than any candidate would, who can't always fact check or call out everything every one of their supporters would have said.
John, are you seeing any erosion, though, in Trump's support now that viewers in large numbers, as we saw on Wednesday night with the ratings, have had a chance to really kind of digest his performance at the debate and with a number of these gaffes that seem to be happening each week?
We'll see. The constant story with Donald Trump so far has been that when people thought he would fall as a result of something he said, he has not fallen. Now it's a question of what about the things he didn't say during the debate. There was about 35 minutes there where he was basically absent from it, not wanting to jump into the middle of a pretty detailed conversation about foreign policy. His critics would say that's because he's not really that well versed on that topic. Then with the supporter not speaking up and calling him out. So we'll have to see. He's been pretty resilient in terms of keeping his support from supporters who really just like the fact that they just like what's sort of in his gut, and everything else they're just not worried about.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Sunday morning now on Face the Nation. This Sunday, Hillary Clinton will be your guest an entire hour. A, is it enough time? And B, what points do you think that she needs to get across on Sunday to really kind of move her campaign forward?
Well, we're going to talk about a whole variety of issues. I mean, obviously, her campaign, the current state of it, her message. There are some people who support her even who say we're not really sure what's at the heart of this campaign. We'll talk about the email server, foreign policy and domestic policy. I think her problem, at least as far as the polls show, is that she is not making the kind of connection with voters that candidates want to make. So how she makes that connection and whether she can is one of the tests for her campaign.
Yeah, as we've seen in some early polls, trust issues are definitely at play. The former secretary is at my alma mater right now, as a matter of fact, at the University of New Hampshire, trying to beat back a surging Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders was on CBS this morning earlier today. Is the Clinton camp, in your estimation, feeling a little heat from the Vermont senator?
I think they are feeling heat from him, if not directly. I mean, they're feeling certainly some direct heat. But then I think also that he creates an appetite among Democrats for a similar kind of message that they can rally around from Hillary Clinton. So even if he's not making a direct attack at her, and he's not attacked her really at all, there are Democrats who would like to see and like to rally around something from Hillary Clinton that makes them feel as kind of good as what Bernie Sanders is saying.
And, John, one last question for you, because we've seen, obviously, record numbers have watched the first two Republican presidential debates. In your estimation, how did you think it played out?
Well, it played out unpredictably. I mean, obviously, that huge number comes from Donald Trump. And the question for the party more broadly is, when people watch, are they making any opinions or judgments about the Republican Party? If they see the Republican Party favorably, this is about the best thing the GOP can have happen, to have all of this attention. On the other hand, if they tune in and see something they don't like, then all of that exposure is not so great for Republicans. Yeah. We'll just have to see how that plays out.
Even Donald Trump was quoted as saying it was like a WWE event. I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, but we'll see in the coming months. John, thanks so much. Great to talk with you. Best of luck on Sunday. We look forward to it.
You too, Chris. Thanks.
And you can catch a full hour of Face the Nation on Sunday with the aforementioned John Dickerson and Hillary Clinton, Sunday 10:30 right here on CBS 2.